Greetings, everyone. Jonathan here from Plagiarism. Today, happy Tuesday, everyone. The big story on everyone's mind today involves the tiny little island nation of Antigua, a Caribbean nation that apparently for quite some time had a significant part of its economy based upon internet gambling. And that internet gambling operation collapsed after the United States outlawed the payment to Antiguan casinos, forcing them to close because they couldn't reach the U.S. market, and apparently something like 5% of the Antiguan economy just sort of tanked after that. How this becomes a copyright story is rather interesting and convoluted. Antigua believed that this action by the United States was unfair and illegal. They took the matter to the World Trade Organization, or WTO, and the WTO ruled in favor of Antigua, saying yes, it was illegal. But then came the issue of punishment. How do you punish a country? It's not like locking a person in jail or making a person pay a fine. It's very different to take a sovereign nation and punish. Very different to take a sovereign nation and punish them. So what the World Trade Organization said, and what they basically have given final approval for on Monday, is for Antigua to earn $21 million per year by infringing U.S. copyrights. Now, how exactly they're going to do this is up for debate. They haven't really indicated, and I don't think they really know. And exactly, when this is going to take place or when this will start, I don't know. Once again, no indication. I'll say later, I think it's very unlikely it'll happen at all. But this is a very interesting ruling that raises a lot of different issues. And I want to talk about three separate things here. First is the unfairness of this. If you're a U.S. copyright holder, you probably had nothing to do with the World Trade Organization, with the U.S. ruling against Antigua casinos. That effort seemed to largely come from both U.S. regulators who believed that these unregulated Antigua casinos were a danger to U.S. consumers, and also likely from domestic gambling organizations, casinos, online, and otherwise, who lobbied for this. Copyright holders couldn't have cared less. It wasn't their battle to fight. Yet, they're the ones that are going to be receiving the brunt of the punishment. It seems kind of unbalanced to me. Even if you disagree with copyright, there's an inherent unfairness about punishing one group for the actions of another. And I don't know. I can't shake that feeling that there's something inherently wrong here. The second aspect, though, is the business element of this. And that's pretty interesting. Antigua has been told exactly how much they can make, $21 million per year. How they make it is up to them. There's no motivation to maximize their profit per infringement. They're not given $21 million worth of copyrighted works and told Godspeed. They're given the right to earn $21 million, and how they get from A to B is their decision. So they could set up a site, for example, where they offer MP3s for a penny, and it would take forever to rack up that many sales to get $21 million. But they would do a lot of damage to the U.S. economy at that point, because things like iTunes and so forth just couldn't compete from a price standpoint. This is sort of a legalized piracy is what it's being called. So yeah, it's very bizarre how they would do it. And there's a lot of questions in terms of how they're going to go about it if they do, what it would look like. And they've been kind of coy about it. I really don't think they've thought about it too hard. It's mostly, as I'll say in a minute, just a lever to get a better settlement. But still, it's an interesting thought. And how would you make $21 million a year off of copyrighted material if you had no obligations to pay anyone any royalties or anything for it? I mean, how would you do it? Strange question. The third, though, is this even legal? Okay, yes, the WTO gave its approval, but Antigua, like most other countries, have signed copyright and intellectual property treatments. I can't speak today. Intellectual property treaties, see what I mean? That are outside of the WTO framework. So you have all these independent treaties they signed, including with the U.S. to respect U.S. copyrights. Are those still valid? Are those still enforceable regardless of the WTO ruling? How does the WTO ruling fit into these? And copyright holders have said that they will enact and enforce those treaties independently of the WTO if Antigua does take this step. I don't know how that's going to shake out. I don't know enough about international treaties and whatnot to tell you. So, interesting question. Like I said, I've got questions. I don't necessarily have answers today. But honestly, I don't think that this is going to happen. Because here's the deal. $21 million sounds like a lot, and sure, if you're selling the MP3s or the movies for a penny or two a piece, it is a lot, but it doesn't really make up what Antigua lost. It doesn't help them recoup their losses. It's not a huge sum of money to the country. Yes, I mean it would be a significant amount, I guess, in the regard that Antigua is a smaller nation, but it doesn't replace what they lost. It doesn't it probably likely doesn't equal what a settlement would be. And besides, with the backlash they would be seeing from other sources, copyright holders and etc., they might actually lose money on this just because if copyright holders and so forth start enacting other treaties and then the legal case gets drawn out and we see a lot of back and forth, possibly other penalties applied, it could be a losing scenario for Antigua. They're using this as a lever to get a settlement from the U.S. government, and they're probably right to play hardball with it. It's probably smart from their position. They've said repeatedly what they want is a settlement. The U.S. government has said what they wanted repeatedly is a settlement. Maybe now that this has been finalized, we can actually get a settlement. I mean, the odds of actually seeing the site are pretty slim even now. But, with every step, it does get more likely, and I know a lot of people are getting kind of nervous about it. So, I guess what I'm saying is this. Until there is a hard date for the site to launch and a hard plan, don't get too anxious. Negotiations on a settlement are ongoing, and I'm hoping that this matter will be resolved quickly and succinctly so that we won't have to test this very bizarre, very unprecedented area of international law as far as it comes to copyright, because this is something that is completely unprecedented. So I have no idea how it would shake out if it does come to pass. Well, on that note, everyone, thank you very much for joining me, and until tomorrow, this is Jonathan Bailey, signing off.